Performance mods promise power, but many secretly cut your engine's life in half. Some wreck pistons, torch drivetrains, and leave you with repair bills bigger than your car's value. One mod even carries a brutal $10,000 fine, and you won't believe number 10. These are 17 performance mods that destroy your engine. Let's dive in before you destroy yours. Number 17, aftermarket blow-off valves on MAF-equipped cars. That loud whoosh might sound like pure horsepower, but in reality, it's often pure trouble. Most drivers chase the sound, not the science, and that's where the nightmare begins. On cars with MAF sensors, air is already measured before it enters the system. When that air gets vented out by an aftermarket valve, the ECU thinks it's still in the engine. The result? A rich fuel mix. Rich conditions mean unburned fuel. That fuel hits your plugs, fouls them, and causes ugly misfires. It keeps flowing into your exhaust, where it overheats and destroys catalytic converters worth thousands. Add the risk of backfiring, and you're literally burning money with every shift. It doesn't stop there. Some setups even worsen turbo lag. Instead of holding boost, you're left with hesitation and sluggish throttle response. The upgrade slows you down. Sure, aftermarket valves reduce compressor surge, but most stock bypass systems already handle this safely and quietly. Swapping them out for sound alone is like trading reliability for cheap attention at car meets. If you want the whoosh without the wreckage, stick to a proper recirculating system. You think a little sound ruined things? Wait until looks alone drive you straight into a money pit. Number 16. Lowering springs without proper suspension setup. Low, mean, and aggressive. That's the look many drivers crave. But drop your car the wrong way, and you're setting yourself up for disaster. Cheap springs slash your ride height, but not your problems. They stiffen the ride to bone-rattling levels. Every pothole feels like a hammer. Your daily drive turns into punishment. And the real killer? Suspension geometry. Lowering changes factory angles designed for balance and grip. Suddenly, tires wear unevenly, sometimes gone in just months. Add in constant alignment issues and you're burning cash instead of rubber. Shocks and struts take the worst beating. They aren't built for the extra stress, so they blow out early. What started as a $200 mod quickly snowballs into $1,000, $2,000 in suspension repairs and alignments. Handling doesn't magically improve. Too low, and you bottom out on speed bumps, curbs, or even steep driveways. Instead of sharper cornering, you get scraping, bouncing, and less control when it matters most. The stance may look fierce on Instagram, but behind the wheel, you're stuck with a harsh ride, worn tires, and a thinner wallet. Do it right or don't drop it at all. From slammed to strained. What's next is all about grip that grabs more than just the road. Number 15. High-performance clutch without drivetrain reinforcement. More grip doesn't always mean more gain. A heavy-duty clutch might sound like the perfect upgrade, but without proper reinforcement, it's a ticking time bomb. Performance clutches bite hard. That harsh engagement sends shockwaves straight through your transmission and axles. Every launch feels brutal, and your drivetrain takes the beating. Gearbox synchros wear faster, shifting becomes crunchy, and smooth driving goes out the window. Daily driving? Forget it. Stiff pedal pressure makes traffic torture, stall risk skyrockets, and leg fatigue becomes part of your commute. What felt race-ready on paper quickly feels unbearable on city streets. And then comes the repair bill. Broken synchros, destroyed axles, or even a cracked gearbox case. Fixing that mistake runs anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000. Suddenly, that $700 clutch upgrade doesn't look so smart. Here's the kicker. A clutch isn't a solo upgrade. It's part of a system. Reinforce your transmission, axles, and mounts, or you're just moving the weak point further down the line. The upgrade might hold more torque, but without the right support, you're buying yourself a one-way ticket to drivetrain destruction. Sometimes, stock really is smarter. Too much bite can snap your drivetrain, but too much air? That's where people choke. Number 14, oversized throttle bodies. Bigger isn't always better, especially when it comes to airflow. Slapping on a massive throttle body might sound like instant horsepower, but the reality is far less exciting. Engines are balanced systems. If you increase airflow without matching intake, exhaust, or fueling upgrades, you upset that balance. Instead of smooth power, you get lazy throttle response and sluggish acceleration at low speeds. Fuel atomization also takes a hit. Oversized throttle bodies let in more air than the injectors can handle efficiently. The result? Poor mixing, rough combustion, and wasted fuel. It's not performance, it's inefficiency dressed up as power. Your ECU won't be happy either. Most factory systems can't adapt to the sudden change in airflow. Expect erratic idle, random stalling, and sometimes even a dreaded check engine light. Drivability plummets, frustration skyrockets. Even worse, without proper tuning and supporting mods, you gain almost nothing at the top end. The big throttle body becomes an expensive paperweight that ruins daily driving. So before you chase bigger is better, remember this: size without synergy kills performance. A well-matched system always beats a mismatched monster. If size without balance kills performance, imagine timing itself working against you. Number 13. Performance camshafts without supporting upgrades. More power is tempting, but drop in the wrong cam and your engine will hate you for it. Performance cams promise huge top-end gains, sometimes 30% more power, but without the right supporting mods, they turn your street car into a headache. Aggressive cam profiles shift power up high. That means reduced low-end torque. Off the line, the car feels sluggish. Daily driving becomes frustrating. Stoplights feel like battles, and city traffic is pure misery. Then comes fuel burn. Radical cams demand more juice, but the mix often isn't perfect. Rough idle, misfires, detonation, and even overheating follow close behind. Your engine stops purring. It starts coughing. Valve overlap adds more chaos. Extra unburned fuel flows straight into the exhaust, torching catalytic converters that cost over $2,000 to replace. And don't forget the valve train. Stiffer springs and aggressive lobes put insane stress on lifters, push rods, and rockers. Repairs here can top $4,000 easily. The truth? Performance cams only shine with full upgrades: exhaust, intake, ECU tuning, and strengthened internals. Without them, you're left with a car that's rough, unreliable, and constantly braking. Power shifted to the wrong place is bad enough. Now let's talk about sparks that burn more than fuel. Number 12. High-performance spark plugs. Many drivers get tricked into thinking racing spark plugs unlock hidden performance, but on a stock engine, the gains are basically zero. What you actually risk is serious engine damage. Spark plugs are heat sensitive. Use the wrong heat range and you invite disaster. Too hot and you get pre-ignition. Fuel ignites early, hammering pistons and valves. Too cold and the plugs foul, leaving carbon buildup and misfires. Then there's the gap. High-performance plugs often come pre-gapped for race setups, not daily drivers. If the spark is too weak, cylinders misfire, fuel gets wasted, and performance tanks. Suddenly, your upgrade makes the car run worse than before. And here's the punchline. For stock or lightly modified engines, OEM plugs are already perfect. They're designed for reliability, efficiency, and long life. You won't feel any seat-of-the-pants gains from fancy iridium or multi-electrode designs, just a lighter wallet. Unless you're running high boost, nitrous, or extreme compression, high-performance plugs are snake oil. They don't add horsepower. They don't sharpen throttle response. They only increase the risk of misfires, pre-ignition, and costly repairs. Number 11. Water or methanol injection without fail-safes. Chasing cheap horsepower with water-meth injection can turn thrill into tragedy fast. Yes, it promises cooler temps, detonation protection, and an easy 10-15% power bump, but without proper fail-safes, it's a grenade waiting to go off. The mixture is the problem. Too much water, and you risk hydrolock. That's when cylinders fill with liquid instead of air. Pistons can't compress water, so rods bend, pistons crack, and engines die instantly. Repairs? Upwards of $3,000, if not a full rebuild. Too little water or meth, and the opposite happens. Temps spike. Without that cooling effect, detonation returns with a vengeance. Knock eats through pistons, head gaskets blow, and you're left with catastrophic overheating. One clogged nozzle is all it takes. Daily reliability also suffers. Pumps fail. Tanks run dry. Sensors glitch. And unless you're monitoring every second, you won't know until it's too late. Street cars simply don't have the constant oversight that race setups demand. When everything works, the gains feel addicting. But one hiccup and the engine pays the ultimate price. Without fail-safes and expert tuning, this power mod is just a loaded gun pointed at your motor. Messy mixtures are scary, but the next mod doesn't just break engines. It can break the law with fines that hurt more than a blown piston. Number 10. EGR delete. This may promise cleaner intakes and a tiny power bump, but the reality is a legal and mechanical nightmare. First, the law. Yank out your EGR, and you're asking for trouble. In many regions, it's flat out illegal, with fines reaching $10,000 or more if caught during inspections. That's more than most people spend on their entire exhaust system. Even if you dodge the cops, your ECU won't be happy. Without proper tuning, the system freaks out. Check engine lights pop up, limp mode kicks in, and your car suddenly drives like it lost half its horsepower. Then comes the biggest deal: higher combustion temps. With no EGR to recirculate exhaust gases, heat skyrockets. This creates perfect conditions for engine knock. Tiny explosions that slowly destroy pistons, rings, and valves. Sure, you can add expensive cooling upgrades, but the cost-to-gain ratio is awful. Thousands spent, all for a barely noticeable bump in power. Hear it today. EGR deletes sound rebellious, but they backfire hard. You risk huge fines, weaker reliability, and an engine begging for mercy, all for bragging rights that vanish at the first inspection. If that sounded like a wallet killer, just wait. The next upgrade fools more beginners than any other shiny part on the shelf. Number 9. Cheap cold air intakes. Bargain intakes promise easy power, but they often deliver nothing but problems. The flashy tubing and loud suction noises fool buyers into thinking they've unlocked hidden horsepower, when in reality, they've set their engine up for disaster. The biggest killer? Oiled filters. That sticky residue easily coats your MAF sensor. Once fouled, the sensor misreads airflow, throwing fuel trims completely off. The result is rough idle, misfires, and sometimes a car that barely runs. There's also filtration. Cheap filters don't block fine dust. Over time, that grit sneaks past and chews through piston rings and cylinder walls. You won't notice it immediately, but long-term engine wear skyrockets. And don't fall for short ram setups sold as cold air. Most sit right inside the hot engine bay. Instead of cooler, denser air, they suck in heat. That means lean mixtures, detonation risk, and sluggish performance, the exact opposite of what you paid for. A proper intake requires real engineering, sealed boxes, correct MAF housing size, and dyno-proven gains. Anything less is just snake oil with chrome tubing. In short, cheap intakes don't add horsepower. They just shorten engine life while burning a hole in your wallet. Number 8. Rev limiter removal. Removing the factory rev limiter unleashes RPMs your motor was never designed to handle. The result? Expensive carnage. Valve float is the first killer. At extreme RPM, springs can't keep up. Valves hang open, pistons smash into them, and you're left with bent valves or even a cracked cylinder head. Repairs can easily top $3,500. Then comes fueling. Stock injectors aren't built for those speeds. They max out, go lean, and suddenly, detonation pounds your pistons like a sledgehammer. One hard pull too many, and you've blown a hole straight through. Oil is another silent victim. At sky-high revs, oil sloshes away from pickup points. Bearings starve, crank journals grind, and friction eats everything alive. Add drivetrain stress, clutches slipping, gear teeth shearing, and you've got a mechanical nightmare. Manufacturers set rev limiters for a reason. Balance between performance and survival. Delete it, and you're basically gambling with every wide-open throttle. Bouncing past redline may sound hardcore, but the reality? You're trading engine longevity for bragging rights that end with a tow truck. Number 7. Supercharger installs. Forced induction multiplies horsepower fast, but if it's slapped on without planning, your motor won't survive the honeymoon phase. The biggest killer is heat. Extra boost means hotter combustion temps. Without proper cooling, you're asking for blown head gaskets, scorched pistons, and oil that cooks into sludge. One spirited run can end in clouds of smoke. The supporting hardware also matter. Bigger injectors, fuel pumps, intercoolers, exhaust upgrades. Skip them, and your engine starves or chokes. Detonation follows, hammering pistons until they crack. Stock internals are rarely built for that much stress, and rods can literally snap in half. Even drivability suffers. Poorly sized turbos create lag, turning daily traffic into a frustrating game of wait, boost. Superchargers installed with weak belts or bad tuning shred reliability just as fast. Done right, forced induction is glorious. Done wrong, it's the fastest path to a $10,000 rebuild. If the kit looks cheap, the installer seems sketchy, or you're skipping supporting mods. Boost won't be a blessing. It'll be a death sentence. Number 6. Cheap aftermarket headers. They look shiny out of the box, but cheap headers are nothing more than ticking time bombs. Sure, they promise a little torque boost, but what you're really buying is a shortcut to chaos. Heat is the first assassin. Thin, bargain bin metal glows red hot, warps under stress, and starts cracking like eggshells. Once that happens, exhaust leaks pour into the engine bay, cooking wires, hoses, and anything unlucky enough to be nearby. Then comes fitment, or rather, the lack of it. Sloppy welds and poor angles mean they don't seal right. You'll hear ticking at idle, smell raw fumes, and eventually watch gaskets blow apart. Tuning is distorted. Headers change exhaust flow, and without recalibrating the ECU, your engine can run dangerously lean. That means violent detonation, pistons hammered, valves scorched, and a rebuild bill that makes cheap suddenly feel very expensive. Real performance parts are engineered, tested, and built to last. Knockoff headers? They're nothing but scrap metal wrapped in false promises. Save your engine, skip the junk. Number 5. Straight pipes. Engines need a balance of flow and resistance. Rip out the back pressure, and you kill torque where it matters most, low and mid RPMs. The result? Sluggish launches, flat acceleration, and a car that feels weaker than stock off the line. Heat is another killer. With no cats or mufflers to tame it, scorching exhaust gases hammer your valves. Over time, this burns seats, warps components, and leaves you staring at a multi-$1,000 rebuild. And let's not forget the law. Remove catalytic converters, and you're not just going louder, you're committing a federal offense. In the US, fines can hit $10,000 per violation. Yes, per car. That's more than the cost of a brand new engine. Here's the kicker. Straight pipes often reduce real-world performance, ruin fuel economy, and make highway driving unbearable. What you gain in noise, you lose in drivability, legality, and reliability. So unless you're building a dedicated track monster, ditch the straight pipe dreams. They don't just wake the neighbors, they wake your mechanic's cash register. Number 4. Nitrous oxide systems. It's the ultimate button of temptation. Hit it, and your car rockets forward like it's strapped to a missile. But that instant rush comes at a brutal cost. Nitrous dramatically spikes cylinder pressure and combustion heat. On a healthy, reinforced engine with safeguards, it's manageable. On a stock or poorly maintained motor, it's a death sentence. Pistons crack, rings shatter, and connecting rods punch holes straight through your block. The setup itself is unforgiving. Jets must be precisely matched to fuel delivery, otherwise you're running lean. And lean on nitrous equals detonations so violent, it sounds like grenades under the hood. Forget to purge the system? You'll introduce air pockets, leading to erratic fueling and sudden backfires that can torch your intake. Maintenance is constant. Lines must be leak-free, solenoids must fire perfectly, and bottles require careful pressure management. Slack for even a moment, and the fun spray becomes a fireball. Nitrous can give you a heroic quarter mile, but misuse it and you won't just blow an engine. You'll blow your entire budget fixing the wreckage. Instant glory, permanent regret. Number 3. ECU tuning, poorly done. A bad tune can turn your dream build into a scrapyard nightmare. The ECU is the brain of your car. Mess it up and everything suffers. Chasing cheap flash tunes often means running dangerously lean. That melts pistons, warps valves, and torches catalytic converters. Go too rich, and you'll wash down cylinder walls, dilute your oil, and destroy bearings. Either way, you're paying with your engine's lifespan. Most aggressive maps push timing and boost beyond safe limits. Sure, you'll feel the extra kick today, but long-term, expect blown head gaskets, failed turbos, and an engine that dies 100,000 miles sooner than it should. That's like tossing half your car's life out the window. Worse, many amateur tuners delete safeguards like knock control or fuel cut. Those features exist for one reason: saving your motor when things go wrong. Remove them, and you're driving on borrowed time. A proper tune requires dyno testing, data logging, and supporting upgrades. Skip any step and you're gambling with thousands in repair bills. Number 2. Lightweight flywheels. Shaving weight from the flywheel feels like free speed, but it's a devil's bargain. Sure, the engine revs quicker and throttle response sharpens, but what you gain in snap, you lose in smoothness. A lighter flywheel kills low-end stability. Idle becomes rough, clunky, and unpredictable. In traffic, stalls become routine and embarrassing. That buzzing chatter you hear? It's the drivetrain begging for mercy. Clutch engagement turns brutal. Instead of absorbing shock, the drivetrain takes it full force. Axles, synchros, and even the gearbox wear out faster. Repairs easily climb past $4,000 once transmission damage sets in. Add the $1,500 plus for clutch replacement, and that cheap upgrade spirals fast. Worse, daily driving becomes a chore. Parking lots feel jerky. Hill starts require precision, and the car loses the civility it once had. Unless you're building a dedicated track toy, the trade-offs outweigh the thrills. The flywheel wasn't designed to be flashy. It was designed to balance power delivery. Mess with that equation, and you're left with a race car temperament in rush hour traffic, plus a repair bill big enough to ruin your weekend. Snappy revs can ruin your daily, but the final mistake? It's the kind of bigger is better upgrade that quietly destroys engines from the inside out. Number 1. Oversized fuel pump. Oversized injectors or pumps can overwhelm the system instantly. Instead of precision, you get chaos. Run them untuned, and the mixture goes rich. That extra fuel doesn't burn. It washes down cylinder walls. Pistons and rings lose lubrication, grinding metal into metal. Meanwhile, fuel sneaks into the crankcase, diluting oil until it's thinner than water. The result? Premature wear that eats bearings alive. And that's just the start. Raw fuel torches catalytic converters, which cost $2,000 or more. Piston failure adds another $3,000. A full sludge cleaning from fuel-soaked oil? That can run $8,000 easily. Suddenly, that simple injector swap costs more than the car is worth. Even drivability tanks. You'll feel rough idle, black smoke from the exhaust, and a smell of unburnt gas everywhere. The ECU can't keep up. leaving you with surging acceleration one moment and sputtering hesitation the next. The truth? Bigger isn't always better. Without the supporting mods and a proper tune, you're not fueling horsepower. You're fueling a death sentence for your engine. Power always comes at a price, but it doesn't have to be your engine's life. The wrong mods leave you broke, stranded, or staring at a $10K repair bill. Want to know which upgrades actually deliver safe gains? Watch 13 mods that are worth it, and 7 that kill your engine.